Hello everyone and welcome on the Transport, Telecommunication and Energy webinars organized by PECB. My name is Mustafa Bislimi and today is part 2 of the webinar with the topic ISO 29001-2010 Supplemental Requirements and Impact of ISO 9001-2015 that will be presented by PECB trainer David Smart, the Managing Director of Smart ISO Systems. We apologize for the technical difficulties we experienced last week, and we did our best that we will not experience the same anymore. Attendees, please write your questions and comments in the question box in the right-hand control panel, or you can use the function of the raise a hand. We unmute you, and you will have a chance to ask questions directly. Please, David, you may start with the presentation.
Thank you, Mustafa, and welcome everybody, whether it's morning, afternoon or evening, whichever part of the world you're in. I'm going to start off now from slide 35, and we're going to start off and speak about customer property. So this is often poorly defined under ISO 9001 quality management system, where kits and parts are sent in from a customer and not adequately controlled. In 29001, customer property must be controlled with the inspection, processing and preservation clearly defined. Where deterioration or damage occurred, then it must be reported to the customer. I've seen, for example, customers' parts being used on other products within the company, as an example. And often, when damage occurs or shortages occurs, they might send them in kits of parts, or you could have a Kanban system that they get delivered regularly, whatever. But that is an area that, I mean, whether it's 9,000 or 29,000, it should be, any damage or shortages should be fed back. And likewise, it should only be used on the product that was assigned to, and shelf life, things like that should all be controlled. So moving on to preservation, the product must be protected throughout the entire time it is under the control of the organisation. It is no good keeping it under tightly controlled conditions during manufacture, only for it to be damaged in storage or transit. I mean, often when products are shipped, because it's an external carrier, things like that, the product gets damaged, or a forklift runs into it in a warehouse, etc., etc. So it's the entire process we're speaking about, from raw material parts right through till it's handed over to the customer. Shelf life is important on components, for example, paint. Obsolescent components are just two examples of how raw material can cost the company large sums of money if not managed correctly. A stock rotation system needs invoking and controlling. And I've used the example of LIFO, last in, first out system, where stock is regularly rotated to prevent its obsolescence. And as well as that, there should be periodic checks are also required to check what is actually in stock, not just rely what records it stays in stock that are on the database, because that'll not be the first time that picking lists have been issued and there's no stock to cover it. My experience of calibration within companies in North America was, in general, it was poorly understood, especially with SMEs, small to medium-sized enterprises. A simple example would be that one of the clients I was working with thought if a product was checked with 3 separate calipers, it had to be within its spec. The 3 calipers couldn't be wrong. I had a great deal of difficulty trying to explain that everything has an error in it. It all depends how accurately you require to measure the part. Also, the principle of having one primary standard in the world and captive devices to calibrate against, and other areas I've had a lot of problems with. the way I tried to get round with the guy when he said that I wasn't a molder and things like that was I rang up a calibration lab and asked their sales guy to go in and talk to them and try and sell them a contract to try and get the point over. And I also worked with his daughter, who was a bit more amenable, to try and get round the issue. But because I was putting a system in, I couldn't say, he didn't want to have anything calibrated and the costs involved. But I said, no, you have to get it calibrated. So we'll move on. The next slide now. The notes, in my view, are pretty self-explanatory, giving good guidance on how monitor and measure equipment and environmental conditions are met. One area I sometimes find delinquent is employee-owned equipment, where claims are made for it and an investigation don't hold up. Like the guy that owns the equipment will say it's been calibrated. I asked to see the certificate, none there. Or sometimes I'll see slip gauges that are claimed to be calibrated, and I'll say, what's the error on each slip gauge or Joe block if you're in the States? And it just says they've got the capability. It doesn't say what the error is, so I'll tell them that's not a calibration certificate. So that's the areas in there to be covered. There's a tendency now for organisations to interpret ISO 9000 standard by using the fact that it does not say the processes will be audited annually. What I see creeping in is the same as notice to cover the whole standard over a 3-year period. So the internal audits sometimes are moving in that direction. Now, auditing is an appraisal tool. Prevention is stressed in the new ISO 9001 standard. The idea is to assure ourselves that our processes are healthy. We're moving, as an example, as an analogy in the health service, to preventative medicine, with our thinking, with a realisation that we cannot sustain our present patch-up system. Using the same analogy, we need to build we need to audit our processes regularly, and we want to find our patient healthy, not terminally ill. If the patient is found to be terminally ill, when you do your audits, the processes are broken down, then we're saying that our QA system is breaking down and need to revisit it and find out why we're producing terminally ill patients. And while auditing shouldn't be used as a sledgehammer to beat people over the head with, as I've said, the emphasis should be on appraising the system and assuring yourself that everything's working as it should. Often during audits, NCRs are ignored by the person they are raised against, hoping that in time they'll just disappear off the table. If we can get out of the thinking of a blame culture, and there's a big emphasis now on the new ISO 9001 system, on changing cultures in organisations, and see the NCR non-conformance report as an opportunity to improve our processes or retain our staff, then the response times and closeout of the NCR will not be a laborious task. Excuse me. The QC plan should be done by the production staff. The function of a modern QA department is to audit and provide support and system to the production team. The days should be gone where the battle lines are drawn and it's you make it and we inspect it. Two departments are fighting over a bone, it's no good. Especially if the end result is there's no bone to fight over, as their competitor has stolen it because of silo management thinking. The QA emphasis should be on appraisal and prevention, not inspection. And sometimes I do a presentation on the same size budget and moving the emphasis, identifying the internal and external failure costs, then moving from the failure costs, reducing them, taking the money saved, moving it into prevention, appraisal, and then once the appraisal improves, then you take money out of the appraisal side and put it into prevention for training and development. It's the same size budget, but it's moving the emphasis away from the initial failure costs. It's a different way of thinking. Non-conforming product control. Ideally, a rework instruction should be issued, putting the rework batch through the process to be reworked on the main line. All too often the controls are weak with a cursory rework happening, often due to bonus systems being in place and no bonus being paid for the rework in a product, or even the operator declaring it. It's a mentality throwing the product over a wall and saying I've done my bit and that's somebody else's problem. Also, the emphasis has to be on right first time. A rework product is never as good as one produced first time. Also, it costs a lot of money to process rework units, often resulting in delays and lost future orders. The objective has to be to ensure that the raw material is accurately recorded. A customer returning a product saying it's faulty is not helpful. And I've seen many instances of how the problem's not been properly documented. Somebody in an admin will type something out. You need all the facts if you're going to do an investigation. Even if the raw material is well recorded, the analysis is important. It's not recognised within the organisation. Here again, the 2015 version of 9000 places much more emphasis on analysis and reporting of data. This just spells out that any subsequent design criteria are found after the product has been put in the service is given to the customer and not ignored. For example, recall to fit retrofit mods. Now, I'm just involved in a discussion at the moment on LinkedIn on this type of issue on the design criteria and where the cut-off point is on it and how it's developed, because there's some people thinking that development of the product and that covers the whole area and that the implementation of a quality management system, etc., is still part of design. And I'm saying no, we're talking about product design, not system design. So if you want to go on LinkedIn and look at that, there's some information there for you. So analysis of data, FMEA, failure mode effect analysis, cause effect diagrams and brainstorming are all tools that can be employed within the organisation to analyse data. Often lack of internal training or lack of emphasis on the importance of it results in it becoming a tick box exercise rather than it being seen as an improvement tool. When I do audits, this area of data collection, data analysis, I'll see some little graphs and things like that, but there are real opportunities lost because there's not been enough effort on I mean, in this country, a lot of the time, if somebody writes something down, one, they didn't want to write it down, and two, if they feel they write it down, then they'll get a kick in the pants for it. So that's a culture that needs to change. Again, on the same kind of theme, corrective action, fixing the symptoms is not doing corrective actions. Finding the root cause takes time and requires skill sets. The 80-20 rule applies here, simply saying operator error is a cop-out treating only the symptom. And often they'll find out, I'll go and investigate, and they'll just go and say to the operator, pay more attention to what you're doing. That's a total waste of time. If the operator's not been given the right information or drawn or lacks of training, it's a management error. It's nothing to do with the operator. The point made in the previous slide on response times apply here. A blame culture versus opportunity for improvement. Again, a cultural shift has been made in the new version in 9001 to try and encourage more involvement at the grassroots level. That's one of the biggest changes, is that the term preventive action is due to be removed in the 2015 version in 9001. This revision now talks far more about risk. This identifies that virtually every decision we make in business has an element of risk attached to it. Therefore, the standards ask you to identify the risk and the opportunities and plan actions accordingly. However, there's no requirement to have a separate risk assessment procedure. When the latest standard is being reviewed, I think they're still treading very lightly in this area on risk assessment, and I personally thought it would have come in under the 2008 version. Now, when I look at the 13485, the medical devices, and the direction that it's going in, there's far more emphasis on actually doing risk assessment rather than thinking about on the sidelines, saying that the whole point of your quality management system should be based about stopping errors happening in the first place the right first time. Whereas the emphasis on the 13485 is that you've got to actually do risk assessments and look at the opportunities on your vendors, on your management review. I think it mentions it about 19 times specifically. So they have really bit the bullet and gone for it, and I personally believe that that will be in the long-term direction all standards will go in. Because everything's about risk management nowadays and sustainability of supplies and etc. etc. Now that ends the supplemental requirements for the 29001. What I want to do now is just show you the correlation matrix in the Annex SL of the new, and do a comparison between the 2008 9001 and the 2015 version. Again, the A.1 notes to me are self-explanatory. There's an emphasis on the new 2015 version to put the emphasis on the auditor to check the processes rather than relying on the processes written down. Under the 2008 standard, there's only 6 procedures that you definitely have. The rest are there if you want them. Now there's an emphasis, placing the emphasis on the auditor, talking to people on the lines and letting the operator or the manager and do more triangulation, asking the same questions around different people and comparing and see if you get the same answer, rather than as it's been in the past. It was easy for an auditor just to read the procedure and then compare the observed practice against the written word. It's going to be harder now because there's not going to be the same amount of written documentation. Under the two, well, I've already said about the 6 procedures needing documented. The same principle applies in the 29,000 as it currently the emphasis on highly documented procedures. So it's recognised now to try and make the documentation a bit lighter to manage. I mean, under the 2008 version, there was a movement towards flowcharting and things like that to get away from the heavy documentation. Now, this slide here shows you the high-level structure of the new SL standard, which had been previously ISO Guide 83. Now, the ISO 9001 will now follow this high-level structure. We'll have identical core text and common terms and definition. Using a simplified language and style of writing will help people at all levels to understand the requirements. This common structure means that every new or revised ISO standard released from now on will have approximately 30% identical text. The clauses are expanded to 10 from the current standards 8, with additions for performance management and evaluation, which more closely aligns with different standards through the Annex SL model, which provides a framework for drafting standards which can be applied concurrently. Integrated management systems or multiple management systems such as 9001, 14001, 27001, 22301. There are other changes such as replacing the term product and replacing it with goods and services, and consolidating the previous 2008 standard into 7 principles instead of the 8 as they are at present. The main change is dropping Principle 5, System Approach to Management, because it's already implied. Now, the main points on this slide I want to bring out, there's no need now to have a dedicated management representative. We have said for many years now, quality is everybody's business. The concept now is to take it to involving top managers in the quality management system, including company directors, rather than pushing the responsibility down the organisation. This makes senior management responsible for achieving objectives, whereby aligning the strategic direction of the organisation with Operation 1 so that the whole management team are singing out the same hymn book. There was a movement towards this in the 2008 standard where you could go and ask to see directors. I mean, when I've been a quality manager before, it's not been unusual for directors to say to me, keep the notified body away from me, handle it yourself. But now there's more emphasis on it, and they're distributing the responsibility over the whole management team. And one area I thought about that would easily be helpful would be in the documentation and allowing each manager, head of department, to be responsible for reviewing and updating their own procedures rather than them submitting a change control request into the management representative, and then the management representative doing it, then hand it out to them for approval, etc., etc. It actually is hands-on, and as far as objectives is concerned, the word quality objectives is something that people just think in a narrow concept. I like to think about it as business objectives rather than just, and the whole idea of this is to push the new standard and get it accepted is central to driving the organisation. No a bolt-on system or a quality control system. It's much, much bigger than that, and get people to see the real value in it rather than the external value, which generally it's sold as a marketing tool. Same with training, there's other areas devolved responsibility. And again, the movement, as I've said already, the QA department's function now is to appraise the system and make sure and provide training and support in there rather than be hands-on. And again, as far as management review is concerned, customer satisfaction has now been added to the management review process. Now this is just the second slide. Sorry, apologies. This is just the second half of the correlation matrix from clause 542. If I'll just slip it back and show you, there's the half page, and there's the other half of the page. The only reason I did that was to make it visible for you. So it's exactly the same headers up the top. I'll go back again. You'll see the ISO 9001, the 2008 versions on the left, and the new standard equivalent clause is on the right. So there is the matrix again. I'm sorry if I'm flashing in front of people's eyes. I'll leave it there so that you can read it and just look at it yourself and see how it all fits together, and it'll help you to familiarise yourself. And that's the way I've always done it. Every time there's been an update, I've always looked at the equivalent clause in the old standard, and then I can make the connection to the new standard. So I've given you a minute or so to look at that. I'm going to move to the next slide. Instead of referring to products, the revised standard uses the term goods and services, reflecting changes in the environments in which ISO certified companies operate. Now there's movement away from the classical CAPA, corrective and preventive action approach, to more a general risk management model, as embodied in ISO 9000's own standard, ISO 31000-2009 risk management principles and guidelines. And as I've said already, there's no need to have a separate process for risk management, as we have it in OHSAS 18001 and the environmental standard 14001. Areas where improvement opportunities can be found by ensuring that proper work instructions are followed in the manufacturing process, proper fixtures and tools are used during assembly or manufacturing, correct specified measurements and checks are performed, all required production information such as sterilisation unit or is properly documented. These are all improvement areas that the training and development for the team are there. So that's me finished my presentation now. I'm going to just click up the last slide. Oh, sorry. You should have seen that. I got out of step there. I apologise. This is the last one about improvement and analysis and corrective action. I apologise for that. So this is the last slide now. So that's my presentation finished, and once again I hope you've got something out of it, and I'll now take any questions that you might have.
Thank you, David, for this great presentation and for sharing your email with anyone who would like to send direct questions to you. We have a question. Yeah, in your experience, Would you agree that implementing new supplemental requirements of 9001-2015 to ISO 29001 oil and gas will be fully supported by business leaders? In this case, it's top management.
I, at this moment in time, do not know what direction that the 29,000 will go in, but certainly, I did an audit yesterday, and the new ISO 9001 has been quite warmly received, and some people believe that there's not going to be much difference, whereas the Chartered Quality Institute believes that there's got to be a cultural change. And the whole idea, to answer the question directly, I believe that traditionally all the derivatives of 9001 have always followed very quickly the change that had been made to 9001. Where I have seen a bit change in attitude is the medical device always closely followed 9001, the development of it, but now they're going in a different direction. Now on the technical side, like configuration control or whatever, these areas are getting done. So I do feel, and I may be a bit biased, but the whole idea is to get people to use quality and get the quality professionals to talk to senior management, and let senior management understand the tools of quality and what the savings, the bottom line savings that can be made by adopting a quality management system, especially now where there's so much technology that can be used to support that, and also the movement away from heavy documentation. At the end of the day, I'll go and speak to people about what does the quality policy mean to you, and they'll start saying, you want me to quote a book, verse and chapter. Now, where I'm heading with this all the way through is leadership, which is now one of the clauses that's been changed away from management commitment. The whole idea is to get the management team to lead the quality management system and truly support it and understand it, rather than have a specialist in there. So the role of the quality manager will not just be the QC guy and the stats guy and all that. Generally speaking, there's easier ways of making a living up to now than being a quality manager. The production manager can make a contribution much easier. The contribution's seen easier. So because of the cultural change that's required in a lot of organisations, I see mission statements up on the wall, lots of fancy adjectives, and then when I look for the bones behind that, there's nothing there. So, in answer to your question, I'm very, very hopeful that at long last, the quality management system, for years we've argued about the word quality management system. It should not be a quality management system, it should be a business management system. I'm very, very hopeful that this time the message will go across and the true role of quality will be recognised and the senior management team will see the value in having 29,000. And as I've said, I think, in my own personal opinion, that it will follow the same requirements as 9001 has gone down. I hope I've not had too convoluted an answer to you.
No, thank you very much. Thank you. It was a clear answer. Okay, so you have shared your email here, so everyone can raise questions to you also in your emails later on. For the moment, we don't have any other question. And okay. I would like to thank you and all the other attendees for joining us. this webinar will be okay. We have a question. Let me see. I think Prince Hussein would like to talk. I'm gonna unmute. Hello, Mr.
Good morning. Yes, I'm with you here.
Yes, Mr. Hussein, you may raise questions, and David is here with us.
Okay, it has to do with the implementation. You made mention of quality is everybody's business, and in the course of that, I have to.
Yes, I'm listening. Just when you're ready.
In the course of that, you said there have been some adjustments in the 9001 version, that's the 2008 version, and the 2015 version. Also, you stated that the QMS of organization may not necessarily be changed. So I'm thinking, what are the possible ways this can be implemented without changing the previous QMS?
Well, as I understand your question, and you can ask me an ancillary question at the back of it, but if you wanted to, if you had an established system, for instance, as an example, under the 13485, the clause numbers are going to remain the same, whereas Annex SL is going to be adopted for standardization across all new standards. Now, if you wanted to, as long as you cross-referenced it and you met the requirements of the 2015 standard, you could keep basically the same format of the 2008 standard. Now, I believe, personally, if I saw that as an auditor, I would need to accept it. But I myself would encourage people to look at their system and align. I mean, whichever, you don't need to adopt the strict matrix that I've shown you, but I would have thought most people would have put that in their system as a cross-reference matrix of some description. And the point I'm making is that the way to get it across, if it looks different and it appears different, then that's the message you're trying to sell. I feel if you try and keep it the same and cross-refer it, then people are basically going to just ignore it and say, oh, business as usual. Now, was there any other point that you were asking me, and I'll try and answer that, or if I've answered the question, please tell me.
I'll probably just do that in an email and forward to you since your email is provided.
Okay, I'm happy to have as many questions by email as you want, and perhaps if you send me an email, perhaps I can even attach some research that would help answer the question as well. I'm quite happy to do that.
All right, thank you very much.
So just take a note of my email and send me the email, and I will respond as soon as I get it. And if I haven't answered it properly, just keep asking me until I answer it. And if I can get some independent research to support it to help you, more than happy to do that.
Thank you very much, David.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Hussein,
for the question, and also David for the answering it. So let's see if we have other questions. Let's give it some minutes. Okay, David, so it looks like there will be no more questions raised today, but your emails is already shared with everyone, and also the webinar will be also on PCB YouTube channel. And thank you very much for being with us today. Okay, and everyone have a wonderful day.
Okay, thanks everybody.
Bye.